Let's take a quick look at Credit Mobilier. I think I can get this all on one video. We'll see. I hope. So first of all, the rules are fairly short, just 4 pages. You have a little map, some boxes with track between things, Pacific Coast. Hey, why did I get this? I got this. I'm into rail games. The Credit Mobilier story is, so awesome and interesting that the name immediately attracted my attention. And then the idea of what sounded like a stock manipulation game with money, very much of the Winsome type family, and then throw in dice, luck, an important element of luck in the game. The Winsome games usually don't have any luck in them. Some of them have a little bit. And I was intrigued with it. It kind of reminded me, hey, UP's a cool game with luck, but it's all set collection. This is going to be focusing on the corporations and their share value. Well, not share value, and their payouts. Okay, it sounds interesting. So I gave it a shot. My wife and I played it. She was thoroughly unimpressed, and I don't think I was particularly thrilled with it. But, it's on my mind now. So at the beginning of the game, the way you set it up is each player is going to get 1 share of Credit Mobilier stock. Now, the Credit Mobilier, I'm going to just play in 4. The game holds between 2 and 6. But the 2 and 6 player games have special rules. And I don't see anything that particularly makes me want to play in 5 rather than the balance of 4. I kind of like having a balanced table. Okay. So each player gets 1 of these. Each player gets, I think, $3. And that's going to be these chips here, which they do not give you enough of. The whites are 1s, the reds are 5s, the blues are 25s. You're going to see me, even in 2 players, we didn't have enough. And adding more players, there's going to be, more and more division. You need a fair number of 1-point chips. Now, maybe, they don't tell you how many you get. Maybe my used version came with less pieces. The other thing you do with the setup is you shake these up and put 1 cube in each of these boxes. Nothing in the Pacific Coast. So the goal of the game is going to be to collect the most cash at the end of the game. And the game will end when there's only 2 colors of these cubes left in the boxes, as opposed to over here. On each player's turn, they roll a fistful of dice, and they get some colors. Most of the colors align with one of the railways, which means that you're going to be able to do an action with that railway. You get to pick 1 color, and you get to do that color as many times as it shows up. A couple exceptions. There's purple, which is the wild color. It has 2 possibilities. It can count as Credit Mobilier, which will allow you to do actions with Credit Mobilier, or you can use it as a wild color and mix it with any other, use it instead of any other color, which means if you roll a purple, you have the option to do whatever you like here, but you could also double up cubes. The one exception, the one color it can't be, is it can't be orange. And orange is special because when orange comes up, it means you're allowed to declare dividends. I'll go into each of these, into the specifics in a moment. Well, how about now? All right, so the actions that you can take when you roll a specific color. The first one is build track. For every die of that color you have, you can take a track piece and you can add it to the board. The first track piece has to come out of the East Coast, the 3 easternmost spaces. This actually make it 4 easternmost spaces. The definition of east is against these arrows. West is in favor of those arrows. From then on, other track can either start over on the East Coast or it can connect to that, and colors don't matter. So, for example, if I laid some blue track, somebody else could lay green track coming off of it. That's fine, and you don't have to keep your colors connected or anything like that. Okay. The second thing you could do, and you can only do one of these, you can do it multiple times, is you can move goods. There has to be track for you to move goods. And say there's a cube here. Basically, moving goods gives me the option for each die roll to take one of these cubes and move it over one of these track pieces. Now remember, the game ends when enough pieces get over to the Pacific Coast that there's only 2 colors left on the board. So that's one reason you might want to move cubes. But the other reason is each space the cube moves over that's going west, that's marked with one of these, the company that's the same color as the cube gets $2. I don't know quite what this represents, why companies are interested in shipping particular goods when they're rail companies, but whatever. The other thing is the person who owns the track, the color of the track, gets $2 on their company treasury. Okay. Well, that's great. That's not getting me any money though yet, right? The third thing you can do is buy stock. Stock always costs $1. You can buy 1 share per color of the die that you have. So for example, in this case, I could buy 1 red share. Actually, I could buy 2 red shares, 2 blue, 2 yellow, or 1 green. And there are various reasons you want to buy stock. In 4 players, the dynamics will be different than in 2. In 2, you want to make sure you have more than the other player in anything that's going to pay out. And then the final thing, the fourth thing, is you can pay dividends. Now, paying dividends is a little tricky. First of all, you need an orange die to do it. And the orange die has to match up with a colored die. So, for example, here, I could say there's 2 blue and an orange, and therefore I can pay dividends. And then I take the larger of the number of orange dice or the number of the color dice, and that's the number of times I can pay dividends. Now, paying dividends is a round in which basically out of the company treasury, each person gets $1 for each certificate that they have. But there's a mechanism to make sure that's balanced out. So each person who has 1 share gets $1, each person who has a 2nd share gets a second $1, etc., until either the treasury's gone or everybody's gotten their full amount. You can obviously do that in a less rigid fashion and just calculate it quickly. If there's multiple of the color, like here where there's 2 blue, I can do 2 rounds of payouts where each person gets $2 per share, but you do the first round first. If the treasury's empty, you can't do the second round. And you don't get anything for that. Now, remember when I mentioned the purple can also be used as credit mobilier. So for example here, if I had this roll, I could pay out once with credit mobilier. Likewise, I could buy 1 share of stock. What I can't do is I can't build track with credit mobilier, and I can't move their cubes because they don't have tracker cubes. Okay, well, if I'm paying out with credit mobilier and they don't have tracker cubes, how do they get money? Every time any corporation builds track, credit mobilier gets $2. So if people are building a lot of track, there's going to be a lot of money accumulating in there. If people are moving their cubes quickly, less money accumulates in credit mobilier and more accumulates elsewhere. And it becomes kind of a, there's, 2 different ways of getting through things. I think that's pretty much it. Like I said, the game ends immediately as soon as there are only 2 colors left on the board, and then you count your money. And it's kind of this weird thing because you got to pay money for stock certificates, but they're not worth anything at the end of the game. They produce money. So right at the end, investing in stock might not be terribly valuable, although sometimes it's your way of protecting yourself against somebody overtaking you. I think there was something else that I had to say, but I can't remember it. So I will pass on, and we're just going to start playing. First thing I have to do is set up the cubes, and what I'm going to do is I grab my little cup, I make a lot of noise, and I just start dropping these in place. And I'll come back after I've got it all set up. I just noticed how bad this is. Again, I can't believe it was sold in this condition new. So, I don't know. But there's only enough money for 3 players to set up at the beginning of the game. The 4th player, there's not even enough cash for him in terms of $1 tokens. Let me make sure. Yep, $3 in chips. Okay, and we're going to start as I usually do and work counterclockwise around the board. So the first player gets to roll some dice. Okay, he has a choice between a lot of reds and some blues. Now, this is kind of a weird situation. Because he's left with, do you want to buy a bunch of shares of something? Or do you want to play that rail, right? I mean, his only real choices are build track and buy shares. I'm going to spend the $3 and buy 3 shares of red with the hope that getting shares, although all my money is now committed to red, and I'm going to be doing all my work on red early on, it seems, which has a problem, because if I don't roll orange and no one else jumps in red because I have such a dominating lead in it, I'm not going to get paid out ever. That's a problem that I saw in the 2-player game was, you know, we each picked a color to work with, and, well, it didn't work out well. Okay, at least not for me. All right, let's go to the second player. And you can see it moves pretty quickly. He gets an orange, he could do a payout. That doesn't do him any good. And he has his choice of colors otherwise. Well, I like blue. Well, wait. It's not that easy. Is there... See, red may not have been a great choice to invest too heavily in, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red cubes, 5 blue cubes, 4 green, yellow has less. Yeah, I'll go with blue and buy a share of blue. Now, even if I buy red at some point, I'm probably just riding along with whatever he's doing with red, rather than working too hard on it, because he has such a commitment there. And you can see, unlike the Winsome games or whatever, you're not just making a strategy on your own, you're forced by the dice as to what you can do. Okay, lots of oranges. Too bad I can't have a payoff. I'm left with the choice between a red or a green share. I'll buy a green share. It's not one of the best companies, but I kind of don't trust somebody else holding a lot of red. It's not like you get a company dumped on you or anything, like in some of the other games. Lots of purple. Okay, well, there's no question in my mind that I want to own a pile of Credit Mobilier. And the reason for that is Credit Mobilier makes money, and it makes a lot of money off of track builds. So now people are kind of worried about track builds. Now everybody shares in on the money they make, but I got a pile of them. Well, now this guy doesn't want... Okay, he gets a handful of Credit Mobiliers, but that means he can do what he wants. He'll take that as 3 red track builds. Might as well make the most money that I can possibly. So I'm going to just work my way westward. That puts a quick $6 in the Credit Mobilier treasury. And that's just going to happen. There's no way I can stop Credit Mobilier from making money. Yeah. I have my choice. I could buy a green share and work together with him on green. I could build track. That doesn't do me any good. I can't pay out anything because there's no purple, and that's the only thing I could pay out. Or I could buy a couple of yellow shares. I'm already supporting blue, and the only person doing so I'm going to buy a green share and divest a little bit. This guy, lots of oranges, a red and a yellow. Well, likewise, hey, if I'm going to ride on something, I'll take a ride on the guy who's got a big investment on it. That seems like a good choice. oranges. I could pay out the credit Mobilier. I'd get 4 of that $6. That sounds pretty good, actually. I could build track or something. A couple of track pieces and put more money in. Well, would I get 4? No, I'd get 3 of the $6. What would happen is I'd get 1, the first 4 would be gone, and then there'd be 2 more left for me. That seems like a good deal, though. So I'm going to pay out the credit Mobilier, and essentially what happens is I get $1, this guy gets $1. We're going to forget about my $1 for a moment. This guy gets $1, this guy gets $1. Now I have the only 3 remaining shares, so each time we go around, I'll get 3 more bucks. I'm sorry, I'll get 2 more bucks. So I end up clearing out the credit Mobilier treasury, but now I have a pile of money again, which is important early on. Later in the game, investment also is important, so don't be too worried about it. Okay, I got all kinds of colors. Blue, green, purple. I'm going to buy another credit Mobilier. Blue, blue, red, red, purple. Now, I'm the only guy working in blue. If I don't buy more blue, other people can get into it easily. But for now, let's lay some track for blue, I guess. Now, I kind of like some of this track works for me. Oh, when you're moving cubes, I didn't explain this. They can never go east. And remember my definition of east and west? And they only produce money if they go west. So they can go north or south as much as you like, and they can end up on the same spaces they were in before. So I'd like to make it so some of my track, some of my pieces can move. Don't really want to make lateral track, and now 6 more bucks goes into credit Mobilier for all of those. We go to the third player, and rolling these dice one-handed is tough. You can see what I try to do, but I may be getting some skew. I got a lot of yellow I can play with. I don't have the monopoly on money, so I can't just say, oh, I'll buy it later and no one else will. So, since everybody else is in every other color, let's buy a pair of yellow, and we'll concentrate on that in a bit. Get this guy. Well, I've got another payout option. And it's not like I have a lot of other stuff. You know, while I have the lead in credit Mobilier, I think I'm going to do another payout on it. Alternatively, I could buy shares in something decent. So there's some blue track. I could buy myself 2 blue shares and I'd be in the lead in that. But blue's not making money yet. Credit Mobilier has money on it. So, yeah, let's trigger that. Okay, now this time it's a little different. Again, there's only $6 in there. 1, 1, 1, 1. So that's 4 down. 5, 6. I'm only going to get the same as that guy. I don't know if I want to do that. Yeah, we want to get some more money on credit Mobilier. Therefore, I'm going to buy myself 2 blue shares. Or 2 red, 2 blue. And I'll take the lead in blue. I'm going to take a little break here. Okay, let's try, see what this guy gets. He got himself some reds, which is cool. He doesn't have any money for unread yet, and he'd like to get some because he got a payout. Okay, well, and he certainly doesn't want to pay out any of the other options that he actually has, which don't have money on them either. So let's move some cubes, I guess. We'll move a red cube along red track. And we have 2 red spaces. So we'll go 1, 2. And that produces $2 for the cube, then $2 for the track for each of these. So that's going to be $8 on red. And red's just gotten a lot more valuable. Alright, lots of purples, which is kind of cool. I think I didn't mess up the dice. If I did, hey, it's random too. Oh, so I've got a problem, which is that I've got a little bit of what everybody's got. And nothing really my own. Now, overcoming blue, since I built on it already, seems like the best move. So I'm going to buy myself 2 more shares of blue. Okay, well, we've got some yellows. We don't want to pay out yellow, obviously, yet. We don't particularly want to pay out red, although we'd get some money from it. We'll let him do that job, I guess. Yellow, though, is our company, and we can build some track for yellow. So, yellow doesn't connect here. We kind of like to. They connect here with track, so I'm going to break down here and start getting myself out in this direction. And that just built 4 more points of track for the credit Mobilier. And yeah, I don't get to shake the dice at all. Yellow, green, and a purple. Well, that kind of sucks. There's not a whole hell of a lot I can do with that. Although, I could move yellow or green cubes along blue track and make money that way. Which isn't terribly unpleasant. But I can also, I could buy a share of something. But I can build some blue track. And that seems like not a bad idea. Let's build a blue track here. Hey, we finished the Transcontinental and put a couple more bucks on credit Mobilier. Yellow, blue, purple. Again, not a terribly good choice. Now, I don't have anything. I don't like my options for moving stuff. So, we'll build some red track, I guess. We'll get this track up here. That puts 2 more bucks in here. A couple of blues, which makes me happy because blue is what I want to play with. I could get some money onto blue. That seems like a good idea. I only have 2 movement. So I'll move 1, 2, and again, that's going to be $8 into blue's treasury. Now, I like yellow more than anything else, and that's kind of the problem here. I like green too, but I'm not particularly willing to make efforts on red, and certainly not blue. So yellow and green are my biggest options. Yellow looks like the best. Do I need to get cash into yellow yet? Or is building track the more important thing at this point? Well, if I don't take some cash, somebody's going to overcome me in yellow. So I'm just going to move a yellow along the yellow track, and that puts some money where I can get a couple of payoffs out of that. Yellows that I don't care about, the purple that I do. Now, because purple's the wild cube, it means it's less guaranteed to pay out, which kind of makes sense because it was kind of a sham company, right? Well, purple's the only thing I have. Let's pay out. Right now there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shares out. We're only paying out once, so we're going to be able to get all $8 out. So we'll just do that straight up and give everybody their cash out of it. And now look, I have money for investment next time. Okay, 3 greens, wow. A purple and an orange. Paying out with red doesn't seem like a bad idea. I'd like to get cash. I can do that. I only pay out once. There's enough money. I can get $3. This guy gets $1. And now we got as much money to play with. I'm very interested in blues. I could do a payout with blue. Now, I have the majority in blue, so a payout probably makes sense here. There are 2 blues, so I can pay out twice, which means it'll be $6, $10 coming out of blue. There isn't that much. So let's do the first payout first, which is 3 and 2. I get $3. This guy gets 2, and there's $3 left in the blue treasury. Okay. The second payout, we each get 1, and then I get the extra. So I get 2 more bucks. And I too will take a red chip. And it's hard for me to even see that there's money on yellow. So do we want a couple of payouts in yellow? Well, yeah. We're the only person with any cash there. We'll take the $4 that are there. And now there isn't. Wow. Lots of purples. Some blues. The problem here is red has the most current cash on it. Is it in the best position? That's hard to tell. Blue and red are both in pretty good position. I could buy a bunch of shares. I think rather than buying 4 blue, I already have a couple, I'm going to buy myself 3 red. That puts me tied for the lead in red. And I think that's it for a bit. Remember though, like in some of the Winsome games, I'm spending my victory points to get these things that don't give me victory points at the end of the game, right? My money is my victory points, and I've got to spend them, and they're a worthless wallpaper at the end of the game. It's totally unlike, you know, the B&O and all the 18XX games where stock certificates have a value. And some of the Winsome games, stock certificates have a value, but in many of them, it's this really hard decision. Do I invest, or am I just trying to pile up money? You know, at what point do I stop investing? At what point is it no longer worth me putting bucks in to cards because they're not going to produce that much. That kind of question is always there. Luckily, they're always $1 here, so it's not like, oh yeah, I can spend $30 on that. So the decisions usually go in favor of investing in this game. Unfortunately for me, I'm waiting on something from work that I really can't undo what I've got research-wise, so yeah, I can play a little bit more. All right, bunches of yellows. This is where the game's dice come in as kind of an interesting thing. Do I want to buy a bunch of yellow and take it over now that I'm tied in reds? Or, you know, do I want to increase my red holding by a little bit? And it's a hard call, because throwing a lot of money into yellow, there really isn't as much room for expansion in yellow, but I can buy a bigger share of it. But I think I'd rather have an additional red than a yellow here. Blues, greens, and yellow. All right, likewise, blue is a good company, and I'm going to buy myself 2 blue. Further cementing my hold on them in terms of, say, a multi-part payout. I might have wanted to play for blue, but I don't feel my lead's that good. Okay, over here, 2 blue, and I got some payoff opportunities. Obviously, I don't want to pay off with blue. In fact, there's nothing I particularly want to pay off with, so that's out of the question. So then I guess I get to do 2 things with yellow. I would like to get some cash into yellow. Nobody else is playing in them. But I think building track is more important at this moment, because I can take this central track. That, of course, throws cash into purple. And you can see the decisions are not hard at all. Over here, a payout with red would be possible. There's not a lot of money in red. I would probably get $2. I don't know how worth it that is. I could buy into yellows. There really isn't a lot I can do here. Could build track with red and get myself some cash. You know, yellow looks kind of built up. Let's buy a couple of yellow. We're making it so that nobody can do anything, because we got that initial start in money. So that, you know, blue is the only guy who has an edge on us in something. Over here, greens and reds. So green's not a bad company, and nobody's got more than one of them. I would say investing in a couple of greens doesn't seem like a terrible idea. Of course, moving money, doing things with red might be cool too, but I don't have that big a hold on red anymore. You know what? I'm going to buy more reds instead. I think red's a better company overall. There's a limit to how much of this you want, because you don't get paid out. Like here, there's got to be at least, you know, $6 if I was alone there, and it comes out to, you know, there's got to be about $10 on there, but that's okay. Usually it doesn't get, you know, I can hold off to choose to pay out. Somebody else might. Okay, we got blue payout, but we have no blue money. Crap. All right, so we're going to have to start getting some money into blue. And here, we'll get this off the board so it doesn't get shifted anywhere else. That's $4, $8 into blue. All right. Well, somebody else is in yellow now. I don't really like that. But blue is a more valuable company. So I'm going to buy myself a pair of blue shares and get in on that bandwagon. Of course, you know, I don't have a good spread. And you can look at people's shares and say, wow, this guy wins as long as things go normally. But if blue is heavily favored, this guy's got an edge. If red's heavily favored, this guy has an edge. There's no edge here. You know, he's just got nothing that really shines and no strength. He does have cash, so he could buy more things, but, you know, let's see. Well, we have everything but green. Maybe we want to buy a couple of green. Any alternatives? We don't have any payout. We don't particularly, we're not the biggest holder in most of these companies. Building track is always cool, but somebody else will do that. So I'm going to spend $2 more, $3 more, and buy my way into a big green holding. And now there's just no way to hurt me. You know, anybody's prime choice is going to make money for me. So I feel pretty comfortable with my holdings. Yellows, greens, and blue. There's nothing I want to work on. Do I want to buy any of these shares? Green's not bad. Let's ride the green rail, I guess. Investing in yellow doesn't get me any edge on him. Investing in green doesn't get me anywhere terribly useful. I don't see anything. Yellow's set up okay. I'll buy a couple of yellow and try to be happy about it. But this is the problem, is that fairly early in the game, it starts to look apparent who's going to win, but it's not absolutely clear. Wow, lots of purple. There's money on purple. I think we're going to buy ourselves 2 credit Mobilier. It's a shame we didn't get that earlier in the game, like this guy did, but now we're getting a bigger share of whatever is produced there. A lot of the track is built, but a lot of it's not. I got a possible payout in red. Not something I terribly want to do. I could do it in green. And that doesn't make a lot of sense. I could do it in purple. There's 7, 8, 9, 10 bucks. It would all get distributed. I would get my 4 bucks. I'm going to do the payout in purple because I'm getting all my cash. Okay. So I'm going to get 4 bucks. This guy gets 2. There's 4 left. 1 here. And 3 here, and that accounts for that 4. And I think it's break time again. How are we doing on time on this thing? Whew, we may not make it. Well, let's start over here at the top. Now, the weird thing with this game is there's sort of no... You can't do much in terms of strategy beyond what you're handed. It's very, very opportunistic. You have to rely on what the dice give you. You can, maybe broadly go for stocks or building or whatever, but then you face other people's situations. So this guy has a couple of green. There's people ahead of him in green, and his feeling may be, hey, maybe the best thing to do is to buy some more green stock at this point. So that's what I'm going to do. I hate spending money. Again, those are my victory points, but... Okay, I got purples, reds. I have a little bit of money. I could take the lead in yellow if I want it. It doesn't sound very good. I have a lot of blues. Red has money on it. Blue has money on it. I'd like to trigger blue, but I can't. So I'm gonna spend my $3 and I'm just gonna buy a bunch of red, I guess. I'm not sure how wise this is, but it now puts me in the contest with other people for that. Of course, I'm out of cash now, so I can't react to events as they happen. Now, this guy over here, the problem is I've been away for a while, so I've forgotten what's what. He's as much in the lead in yellow as anything, but he basically doesn't want to pay out. Which means this orange is useless. I could buy more yellow. Or I could buy a green or a red. I think probably my best move is to get some money into yellow, maybe. I don't know. See, I have the lead right now, actually. So if I could start ending the game, things would work very well. But there's a lot of cubes out here. Even if I pumped my yellows through, it wouldn't go terribly well. So I'm going to move yellow twice. See if I can hurry this along. This didn't work terribly well for me playing against my wife to try to, just take advantage of, say, a lead in cash that I had when she had the stock lead. This guy. He's got a payout possible. He doesn't lead in green. Doesn't lead in yellow. Doesn't lead in blue. Hey, he's actually kind of fallen behind in everything except maybe purple. Which may mean it's time to build more track. Get some cash into place, huh? The other alternative is to pay out those yellows before anybody gets above him in them. I can pay out twice. There's 2, 4, 6 yellows. Let's just do the payout. So $6 in yellow. Give $2 over to him. $2 here. And we'll take $2. Come over here. See what we have. So we've got a potential payout in red, and I've got the most money in red, but I'm not going to give very much because there's only $4 here. So doing that doesn't seem terribly valuable. The $4, one would go to each person who has any red shares. So having all those shares doesn't really help me. There's not much I want to do with yellows. What I'd like to do is get more money into red, I guess. And I'm only going to be allowed one action. Could build this track. That might not be too bad. Let's build this piece of track. That puts $2 into here. Potential payout in blue. There's a lot of money in blue. I can do it twice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Twice isn't going to help. There's only $8. I'll get 4 of that, though. The alternatives aren't terribly enticing to me. So we're going to pay out blue. Like I said, I'm going to get 4 of it. Why don't I get 5? Well, it just has to do with how these things flow. These extra monies get distributed. So everybody gets 1 first, everybody gets 2 first, and then that's what's left. Okay. Lots of potential payouts. Not a lot of money kicking around. So I could get 1 of the money from yellow, and he would get the other money being next in line. That doesn't sound terribly useful. I could do a payout in purple, which would get me $1 out of purple, which is kind of cool because this guy has more shares of it, so I could like steal payouts that otherwise I might not, get that kind of share out of. Alternatively, you can keep trying to end things. That's $8. Into there. I don't know if this is wise. I mean, if I could end things, it would be great. But all I've done is cleared out yellow. Of course, makes buying more yellow shares kind of iffy if you know they've gotten all they can. Yeah, unfortunately, can't pay that out, and those aren't terribly useful. But I could buy a bunch of reds and or blues, or I could buy a couple of greens. There's a lot of green cubes out there. There's not a lot of green track. I'm looking at the reds as maybe more valuable. There aren't a lot of red stocks. I'm just going to buy the 2 remaining red stocks. And that puts us back here. And I take another little break. To be in something of a non-gaming mood, even something like this I'm putting off. Not terribly, but anyway, a game like this is best if you just kind of play it through. Let's see what we got here. I got pretty much 1 of everything. Now this guy has no cash on hand. He'd like to score reds if there's money, but there's not enough money. He could score green. There's no money there. He's biggest on green, but, well, it's hard to tell. It's like both green and red are not unpleasant to him. So this track is pretty much useless at this point. There's a possibility this could move, but I could move a green cube over red track, and that would kind of do me some good. Or I could lay more red track, but there's no real guarantee that anybody's going to play red versus green or anything else, so I'd rather collect the money now. So this is 2 for each, 2 for each. So red gets 4. I think this was out of red. And green gets 4. And I get a stupid penny with it. Alright. Well, how's my yellow holdings? My yellow holdings are as good as anyone else's. But I don't know if that's good enough, Cash-wise, I'm not in the lead, which probably means I should be buying stock or something. The problem with yellow is it doesn't do anything. So maybe I'll just crash yellow at this point and pay it out. It's kind of a waste of a turn, but the other choices aren't terribly good for me. Paying out red would mean I'd get my 3. Let's see. which is as much as anyone would get. So I'm going to pay out red. So what happens here is 3, 3, 3, 1. And that's going to be the entirety of the 10. 3. This guy just gets 1. This guy gets 3. And over here, we have no cash. We get 3, and that's all the red. Uh-oh. Nope. I lied. There's only 8 there. So wait a minute. So that's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So these guys only get 2 each. It's even a better buy than it would have been. Oh, let's not do that. There's why he's winning, is near the bank. Okay. This is lots of payouts. And you can see where by being the guy who triggers the payoffs, you get an advantage. So he got $3. People with more shares actually did not get as much as he did, which is kind of, I don't know, maybe goofy if you want to look at it that way. So I could trigger a payoff in anything I like. You know, I think I was actually doing yellow. No, he made the choice on red. Whatever. It was a good choice, so we're not going to reverse it. This guy might just go with the yellow payout, because he can do it multiple times. So the first time produces 2, 4, 6, 2 to each. The second time produces a third one to each, and then a fourth one to him. So that sounds reasonable. So that's $4 for him and $3 each to this guy. This guy. And we have enough money to exchange for reds. It's hard to read those coins. Okay, and then to our probable leader, he's got payouts too. He could do a green payout. He has the most money on green, and again, by going first, he might get an extra $1 this way. Yeah, he's going to get 2. Everybody else gets 1 if he triggers off the payouts, so he'll do that. Everybody else who's, no. Wait a minute, there's only $4 and there's 4 people with green. He'll just get $1. That's not really worthwhile. Does he want to build track? And he could build a lot of green track. And that would get money over into the purples. Of course, somebody else could get the advantage there. But if he gets enough money into purple, his leadership in that would help. So I think building a bunch of green track sounds kind of appealing, just to get money into there. And it's not like, you know, I'm not a bad green player. So the problem here is to get track going here, I have to build here. And I may not want to do that. What I may want to do instead is 1, 2, 3, that drops $6. Over into here. Alright. Alrighty. Payouts in green, blue, or red. Well, green is the only one I'd consider, and I'd only get a share like everyone else, which doesn't seem at all valuable to me. All that nice green track is appealing. I can't trigger purple because there is no purple roll. So I want to get money into reds and greens. This seems like a way to do that. 2 to each. Oh, but I can only move one piece. Yeah, I mean, it's either payout for things that I don't really care about, or just move $2 into red, $2 into green. Okay. That puts us over to the second player. I have a blue-green problem when the lighting's not great, and I can't really see them terribly well. Well, he's got a lot of blues, and there's a lot he'd like to do with blue. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of blue track that I can move over. So I've got 4 blue cubes I can move. 1, 2. And that moves $4 onto blue. Make it $8 onto blue. Okay, that was 2 of my blues. I still have 2 more I can move. These others are a little less valuable. I'll move 1 here. That's 2 on blue and 2 on red. This guy, he really likes blue. And now I have 1 more. I can put 4 more bucks on blue. Now there's a lot of cash on blue, and that seems like a good thing overall. Moving cubes over brings the end of the game closer, though, for whatever. Wow, I could pay the shit out of red. Only 3 times. You don't add those together. I don't want to do that, which means I really don't have a lot of choices here. I can not buy any red. I could build track with red, I guess. I have to do something. I have to pick red, and I don't necessarily have to build 2 track. I might as well, though. I'm going to build crappy track for red, though. But that puts $4 into here, and I guess that's a nickel. All right. And then we'll get around to our lead, and he's got tons of blues, purple and red. All right, well, he's no longer clearly in the lead money-wise. He can't do any kind of payout or anything. Blues... I could run blues over reds and get more money onto them. I don't know if that's terribly helpful. So red is my best company. If I build 2 track with red, I could actually do something kind of useful here, I think. So I can build this, and I guess this is probably my next best choice. And that gets me 4 more bucks here. And another nickel over there. And there's a lot of money there. We're gonna run long, but I just want to do this on one video. So I'll take another break, because I like taking breaks. Alrighty, well, let's see where we are. We're still pretty far from ending the game, I think. It looks like red is the closest to being able to get their cubes out. Yellow's gone, right? We don't have to worry about them anymore, but... This is cocked. I don't have any huge knowledge of what I'm doing. So... there's not a lot of green that I'm gonna get. I don't have a lot of money right now, but I think pumping the green would still be a good move. So this produces 4 for green. That's one of these cubes. Let's take a nickel. The next one. I don't necessarily want to push things off the board at this point, but there aren't a lot of good options for me. So 4 for green, or 2 for green, 2 for red, 4 for green, 4 for red. Red here. 4 more for green. Okay. And I got one more move I can make. Putting stuff on blue doesn't really hurt. So I'll push 2 more for green. And 2 for yellow. Even though I'm not really interested in yellow, it still moves me into where I can start pushing things forward. Okay. Alright, now we have to think here, because we're not in the lead. It's all very close, actually, except for this guy. So we could do a payout, and a payout of red would not be terrible. We could take 3 payouts of red, up to 3. A payout of yellow would get us a buck. It seems a waste, and we'd give a buck to this guy too. So, what about a payout on red? And how many times do we want to do it? Well, there's only 8 bucks here, so we're probably not going to get too much out of this. So, the first payout would go 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. That sounds pretty good. Okay, so we'll get 3 bucks from red. He gets 1 buck from red. These guys are each getting 2 from red. So, even though we didn't have that many reds, we still got a better proportion just because of the amount that was out there. And there's just something weird about that. Okay, all kinds of colors. Now, I'm no longer in the lead, am I? Well, I am. I have a 5 here. I'm not in the lead, but I'm tied for the lead. So if I could end things, that would be great. But I'm not going to have that amount of movement available. I have an orange. I could pay out some money. Yellow would get me a buck. Blue would not get me very much. Other people would get more. I'd rather not do that. Red's dead. So what about purple? Well, what happens if we take purple? There are 16 bucks on purple. Unfortunately, there's a lot of money. So we'd get 3, 7, 8, 9, 10. That would be much of it. And then the other 6, I think we'd come out pretty well. So let's divide this up. So the first 10 we can get rid of with the purple money. So we get 3 off of purple. Yeah. So we'll take our 3. He is going to get 4 off purple, which he gets 2. And he gets 1. Okay, now the second set is harder. There's not as much money. And let's see, 2, 4, 6, 7. That's not going to do. We only have 6. So what's going to happen is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these guys each get 2. These guys each get 1. And that clears purple. And what's kind of nice is I think I'm in the lead now. So I got 5 coins here. Puts me to 20. He's only got 19. And over here we've got like 17. So that was a good play if it was going to end on the next turn or if it was in danger. It's not, but you do what you can. Okay, a couple more purple, which are pretty useless, and some yellows. And a blue. But I have the capability to do whatever I like as well. And I have a fair amount of red, and I'm not really too worried about him. So I'm thinking about pumping reds. I can only move 2 of them. So I'll just do this for $8 into red. May not be optimal, but we'll see. Over to the first player. Oh my. Huge payout in either red or orange. Huge in terms of number of rounds. I'm sorry, red or blue. Well, obviously I don't want to do blue. Do I want to do the payout in red? Probably. I might as well. Because I just can't do much with these pieces. So what's my payout in red? Well, there's only $8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I'm going to get $3 of that, which means this guy's going to get 2. 1 here, 2 here. And we can make some change. This is the really annoying thing, making all this change. And now I have to find another nickel for him. And anyone else? No. Alright. So now over here. A couple of purples, yummy blues, and a yellow. Now I can't do a payout, but I could pump points through blue. Let's take a look at what our victory is right now. We're looking at 21 for both of these, whereas we're at like 19. So clearly doing something with blue makes sense. We've got 4 plays. We could lay track. Laying track doesn't do us a lot. Moving over green doesn't look terribly pleasant. We could of course buy stocks, but I think it's too late in the game for that. Although the one advantage of buying stock or laying track is that we're not hastening the end. But with our little amount of purple, building track seems kind of crappy. Buying stock means I'll be cutting into my cash reserves. So I think we'll pump these. We've got 4 moves. So that's 2 4 into blue and 4 into red. There's my 4 for red. And of course we have to hunt down. Yeah, I have a red nickel. I think it's red cents though, right? Okay. Now over here. Okay, he's got a lot of choices over here. Now, he's tied in the lead. Doesn't have a color that's very good. Now, the tiebreaker for lead is stock. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. got to make some money before I can call things. Calling blue seems like a way to make him money. We're not certain yet. Calling yellow would split it between us. I could do that, but that's not terribly useful. Calling green isn't going to give me anything terribly good. That looks really ugly. Wow. Is there anything that is appealing to me? I mean, purple is where I'm closest and could like maybe edge a buck. Well, what happens if we call blue? So there would be only one round, and there's a lot of money on blue. That's the problem, because this guy would get a fortune. Yeah, we can't do that. So, is it time to buy shares? There's a lot of green out there. I can pay $2. Yeah, I know. I'm falling behind more by doing this. But I pay $2 and I grab myself another pair of green shares. And hope for the best, really. Because I'm dominated in stock by him, so there's just very little. And by dominated, I mean he's got more purple, more red, equal blue, equal green, equal yellow. So unless the die rolls come out lucky, the advantage to me is I sit right before him. Okay, all orange and a red. Well, I could pay the shit out of red. Everybody would get $1 if I pay red. That does not seem terribly valuable. The only other option, though, is to move a red cube, which could actually hasten the end of the game. So that's not terribly bad. We'll do that. That's $4 more into red. Pull that red nickel out. All right, let's do another one here. Greens, he's got a decent amount of greens, purples, and red. Well, what could I do with greens? I'm so far behind that I need to dominate some payoffs, and I just am not getting the orange rolls. And that's really what the game comes down to. Whoever gets the orange rolls at the right times in the right places just wins, you know? I mean, there's some strategy involved, but largely there isn't a whole hell of a lot you can do. So I don't want to move this blue forward because that would close to ending the game. I don't particularly want to move those greens forward because that would put us closer to ending the game. Do I want to build track? That puts money in purple, and that's not terribly appealing either. I think I'm just screwed. I really do. So I'm gonna, I guess, start getting the game closer to ending. So I'm gonna move reds. I have up to 3 moves in reds. I don't have to take them all, but 2 red, 2 green, 6 red, 2 green. Let's get the 2 in green and 6 in red for now. Okay, that was 3 dice, or 2 dice. I got 1 more die. I can move this down, and as a lateral move, it doesn't generate any money, and it also doesn't put things any closer to ending. No, there's no need. Those don't even have to be on the board as far as I'm concerned. Lots of blues. Well, I'm not winning the game. So, what I'd like to do is start getting some cubes up where they'll help me. And blue and red are kind of my most useful. I can't just move the cubes. For example, if I moved the blue or the green, I couldn't move them upward the way I want to laterally. So I guess I'll build a bunch of blue track. That's going to create money for purple. So be it. That's 2, 3 for purple. Do I have... let's put one here. Okay. So that was all 4. So that's $8 into purple. Red, yellow, orange, purple. Well, I might get an advantage by paying out purple. There's $8 there right now. I'm a little behind. Paying out yellow just keeps me even with him. Now I gain on him, but what happens if I pay out purple? So there is $8 on purple, and we're looking at 2, 4, 6, 7. I'd get an extra $1. It sounds good to me. All right, so we'll pay out the purples, and 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. So I get $3 from purple. It's 2, 2, and a lousy 1. And now over here, I'll rearrange the change after we take his turn. Okay, he's got a couple of payouts. A purple, which does him no good, a blue and a yellow. Now yellow's kind of interesting for him because he can gain $1 on this guy over here. If he doesn't gain it on him, this guy will get the second $1. It's a possibility. Am I in the lead? That's one good question. I'm at 23, 22. I'm in the lead. So if I could end this with 2 moves, blue or yellow. Well, yellow can't do anything. Blue, 2 moves isn't going to end it. I need more than that. So a green move wouldn't end it because I could use that. A red move wouldn't end it. So I think paying out is probably what we want to do. Do we want to pay out yellow or blue? Okay, well, what happens? Blue looks like it's going to generate a lot of money for him if we pay out. So we'll pay out yellow. Take the money like that. Take another pause, and I'll do some change rearranging. Yeah, I know this video is going long, but hey, you know, it's all one game, right? We're pretty close to the end now. Something like 3 green moves, 4 red moves, 1, 2, 3, or 4 blue moves. Will get us down to 2 colors. So let's see where we go. We got reds, yellows, and greens. No chance of any purchases. Given my situation, I'll throw more money into reds for $8 into red. And tired of hunting nickels. I'll put a dime there and try to remember that that's actually 10 cents. To the next guy. Okay, he's got the possibility of payout. Now, he's got a fair number of reds. He's behind this guy. If he can get the majority of the red, it might, or the value off the red, it might be worth doing the sellout. But he's got better yet than that. He can do 2 blue sales. Okay, with all our blues, we definitely want to do that. That might just put us over the top. So right now we have $18 in the blue treasury. And 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're going to do, we can do 2. So we're going to do it twice. So we get $10 out of blue. This guy gets 4. And this guy gets 4. And we're gonna exchange some of these because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these. All of this gets us to a 25, 28. Over here we have a 2 though. 3, 4, 5 gets us a blue. So we're at about 30. Here we're at 26. And that means I can take a couple of these reds and replace this silly dime. So now we have a new lead, and if he can end things while he's in the lead, it's great. But people have a chance maybe to get a payout. That'll help. No payout here. 2 yellows, a red, and 2 blues. So this is problematic. 2 yellows, a red, and 2 blues. There's not a lot I can do. I can move things here. Kind of like to move along yellow track, so I think I'm going to do that. Now I don't have to do both yellows here. With the track cut off, I think I'm going to move this. I'm just worried about somebody ending the game because I'm fairly far behind. But you know, yeah, I'm going to trigger both of these moves into there. So that's $4 into green. And $4 into yellow. Okay. And the reason is green and yellow are my best colors, really, in terms of proportion. If I get lucky on being able to dump stuff. Of course, I did push the game end closer, and that could be a problem. All right, we got a whole mess of stuff, including a possible payout. Payout is almost certainly what we want to do. So, given the situation, I think we want to do a red payout. We can only do it once. So we have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's going to all be covered. So we can take a quick $5 for red. $6 here for red. $3 here, and unfortunately out of coins again, and $1 here. And now let's see, we're at 33 to 34, but at least it's closer. Of course, the game's getting closer to the guy who's winning getting a chance maybe to end things. So he's got 2 oranges, so he could do well, lots of payouts. He could do lots of red payouts. Now that's not terribly valuable, but I think he wants to do it because the cash is there, and this is his best possible suit or stock. So since there's only $6 there, looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So $2 to each of these. Down here, $1 here. Oh, I must have miscounted. I don't know. I may have made some bad change, I'm not sure. So we're at $20 here. This is 5. 35 and 35. So, no, this is 36. Still a buck off. All right, and if he can end it, he wants to. Whatever he moves, if he gets a green move or 2 red moves or a lot of blues, he's just going to take it because he's in the lead. He gets lots of whatever color he wants. So now some money goes into green and blue, but it doesn't matter at all. And we have a victor here. It's a clean victory. There's no tie. If there had been a tie, this guy with all his shares would be ahead. What kind of shocked me here, in the 2-player game, it was very easy to get to a position where you were capping someone and everything. Now, this guy was capping people and everything, and at points had the most cash, but just because of the luck of the rolls, you still are in it if you're close. What I was finding in 2 was that really wasn't happening, but I was so badly dominated in the early game, due in part at least to bad luck, which may be the case that happened here. You know, not being able to get payoffs when they were being set up, and then somebody else buys up all your shares and you're no longer making the kind of money that you were. There's definitely a balance here. So like all those red shares coming out meant that, you know, on a multiple payout or whatever, red was just cleared out and not a lot of money was gained from them. So some of those shares became less and less valuable as it came along. There's sort of a balance. I think you may kind of want a balanced hand of shares because you can tinker with that. If you get the payout on your turn, you might be able to get an extra buck on everybody else who has shares, regardless of how many shares you have, just because of how little money might be in the companies. I'll come back and add a little review to this after I clean it up. Credit Mobilier here. Despite the wonderful choice of names, which evokes, you know, the biggest railway scam that occurred, this is a game that's very, very short on any kind of feeling of cutthroat competition, trying to manipulate the stocks or anything like that. It really isn't about that. And that's a shame. I thought the name, the choice of the name, might actually be more than just the normal Euro trappings. Of course, anytime you buy something from Rio Grande, you know, chances are it probably isn't, too much, not just of a simulation, but too much related to the story of what's going on. All right, let's look a little bit at a few things here. First of all, components. The rule books is small, clear, nothing wrong here. The cards, good quality, fairly decent dice, nice touch on them, painted instead of stickered. So, I see some grain. If they are stickered, I don't think they are. I think they're painted. Anyway, that means they might chip a little bit, but you're not going to lose a sticker, which could be a painful thing. Get little wooden pieces. These work fine. Nothing wrong with them. The board, it's a little flimsy. It's a little bent. Whenever I lay it down, if I don't, really kind of bend it back and stuff, it ends up sitting kind of funny. It's especially bad if you're playing on carpeting or something for whatever reason, if you're that kind of person. The only problem graphically, some of these little curved rails, the little rail pieces don't fit on them particularly well. They kind of annoy me when that happens. Also, the little rail pieces, I'll sometimes cover up the "hey, you're going west" markers, especially in places like here where it's not really clear that you're going west. You might end up missing something that way. I don't know. I don't think it ever happened in the couple of times I played. These are the big negative. If this is all you get in the game, it ain't enough. Now, if maybe my used copy, somebody
stole a bunch of these chits or lost them or whatever, okay, that makes sense. But there's just not enough money to even do initial setup. And if that's the case, that's just pathetic, to tell you the truth. What about the play of the game? Well, here's the problem. The dice thrown into that kind of winsome-ish type of, grab stocks, get value off of them. You're not paying any particular price for the stocks. They don't have any value of their own. Not even a value for paying. So really, so much of the game is just determined by, hey, what did I roll? Did I get what I needed? Did I get the bonus? Do I get cash this turn? Do I get control over whether there's a payout that I want? Did I get an orange roll? That becomes so much of the game that it's no longer much of a strategy-based game at all. There's certainly someone who understands it is going to do better than someone who doesn't. Even with, well, no, maybe not certainly, because my wife and I played, and she walked away saying, I still don't understand this game, but she won by a lot. Now, I understood why she won, and I made maybe some choices that I understood as poor early on, but I wasn't able to recover from some lucky die rolls that she got, essentially, that allowed her to get more money, to buy more stocks, to set herself up in a situation where she had more money for the rest of the game. And I think that probably happens fairly often in the game. I think it's less of a problem when you're not playing two-player. In two-player, it really doesn't work terribly well for that. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, this may not be the game that holds. I've got this confused with another game. So I don't know how many players this is supposed to hold. Maybe it's not even supposed to be a two-player game, which wouldn't shock me. 2 to 5 players. Yeah. So if it's a game that's kind of reliant on the dice, etc., it's more of a shits and giggles type of game. It's something you're just going to have fun with, throw some dice, a little bit of filler, whatever. The problem with that is the mechanics, both in your head and just physically, of moving the change around is just such a pain in the ass. There's so much of the money shifting and making change and this, that, and the other. And of course, if there were a lot more chips, that wouldn't be as big a deal. But with the shortage of chips, it really becomes painful, especially if you're kind of anal retentive like I am, or OCD, and you want to use these as much as you possibly can, so you're constantly changing out your fake chips. But yeah, I think even as a game, it's just, there's too much mechanical counting in terms of mental mechanics, where you're adding up how many bucks you're putting on a card at a particular time, or there's too many different sections of moving the units physically, money physically, and especially if you play, strictly by the rules, handing out a buck to each person and a buck to each person and a buck to each person during payoffs. That's going to be horrible. But again, on the mental side of it, you have to do some quick calculations, and that ends up kind of spoiling that shits and giggles type of game. I'd rather play Yahtzee than than this. When it comes down to, I'm just gonna roll a bunch of dice and make some minor strategic decision or whatever. Strategy decision on the game. In terms of the balance of different opportunities, obviously there's some replayability in that the cubes get randomized, so like one company may be better than another. Credit Mobilier itself versus the companies, they both show some value. Early on, I think Credit Mobilier is a good choice because it's almost guaranteed to be getting money because people have to lay track to do anything to get money on any of the other companies. So it's one of the safer choices to put on, but the problem is the purple dice are the least likely color you're going to get, because anytime you roll a purple, you could choose that it's some other color that you have. So it's kind of counterbalanced by that, and then late in the game, it's not really making much money at all. So it becomes kind of a burden where you spent early money on it and probably aren't going to get anything late. However, I think the advantages of it, even with that purple die roll, may overcome some of the disadvantages. You saw in my game the guy who bought a bunch of credit mobilier at the beginning did very well, both at the end of the game and also in the early stages. He did get surpassed. Presumably there were some bad, some luck issues there, but it also may have been having a fair amount of those shares invested in, and you pay a buck for each. This is not a game that you have to be elite in order to play. It is cool to see an Easter egg like that. Anyway, I'm not terribly impressed with it. I only paid like $5 for it in an auction, and it's certainly worth that. I don't think it's worth the shipping cost, though, to get it to me from the auction. So I wouldn't suggest going out of your way to get it, but yeah, it gives you some of that kind of UP type feel without quite as much, without any of the real bonuses to UP, which is that it's actually UP is a particularly good game. What it does not give at all is any of the flavor that you would expect from something called credit mobilier, which has to do with pillaging a company. You sort of are pillaging all the companies by taking their earnings, but they don't need that money for anything. So you're not faced with the kind of choices that you might be faced with in some of the Winsome designs, and they're kind of offshoots like Chicago Express and stuff, where you're like, well, do I want to pay out dividends or do I need that money in my company treasury to use it? Which is very much an 18xx type of decision, although it feels more poignant in the Winsome games, and they're simpler to teach. So, I don't know, whichever one, flavor-wise, you like better. All right, that's it for Credit Mobilier. Probably won't play it again much.